Thanks for being here. I am going to be scanning in some sketch card art that I completed over the weekend. And this is really just so I have a high-res file. These are commission pieces, right? And so some of them I can end up selling as art prints. So I'm working on that this morning. I've got one piece that's in the scanner right now, and I'm going to just get started on that. I hope everybody had an awesome weekend. I had a good weekend, actually. Got to ride, do some mountain bike, trail riding. Did not fall, which is always a plus. Yeah, put up some Christmas decorations. I wish you could see it, but I've got a comic book spinner rack over here that I've got lights, Christmas lights wrapped around it. Actually, I think I did post it on my Instagram, so if you happen to be on my Instagram, you may see that. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is scan what I have in here. Finishing the rest of my cold coffee. My dad Batman cup. So that's it, but I have to reposition it. It's a Watchmen homage, and it's really an homage to Dave Gibbons, because I used a panel from The Watchmen, just a small panel, and decided to use that as a cover. And what's crazy about Watchmen is you could literally take any panel from that book and blow it up, and it would be an amazing cover. That's just how astonishing that book is, just on so many levels. Hopefully this one works better. My scanner is a little finicky sometimes. Like, sometimes it has difficulty recognizing what is the full scannable art and what is not. Oh, okay. Perfect. Alright, we'll just crop that. Save that. I think I want to put this right in the folder. I have a folder devoted to this particular commission. So we're going to call that scanned art. I'll save that as a JPEG. It's a big JPEG, so it should be fine as far as the resolution. Then, I gotta think how I'm gonna do this. I think, let's go into Clip Studio. There's the pencil. JPEG. I wonder if I saved this somewhere else by mistake. Sketch covers. Huh. Alright, there's my scanned art. So I gotta figure out decide how I want to do this. Maybe I should do it in Photoshop. Get rid of some of the stuff. These were all shipping labels for these commissions that I'm working on getting shipped out today. Alright, so there's that. But what I want to do is I'm going to replace this scanned area with the vectorized high-res logo, just because I want it to be super crisp and high resolution. So to do that, I'm going to go in here. Woot! Zix. Thanks for joining. Hope you had a good weekend. Alright, so there's the... I think that's the vector. Oh, maybe it's not. Alright, I gotta go elsewhere. Should be maybe it's this one. Nope. Art prints. I had a problem finding this before. I'm just going to type it in here. It's like it ended up somewhere it shouldn't have been. Etsy. I saved it in Etsy for some reason. Alright, so there's the vectorized logo. So I'm just going to copy that. Bring it in here. Now we've got a nice clean high res of that logo. I think what I'm going to do, maybe I should prepare this as a color cover and sell the print as a color print. Yeah, the brushes are so great. I never looked back on Photoshop as far as the brushes, and even the pencils are they're just so much more flexible than any other app that I've tried. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do... Man, I'm really tempted to color this and sell them as a color print. But until I decide for sure, I'm going to create 2 iterations of this. I'm going to duplicate my line art. And so for this one, I'm going to get rid of all the color, the blue lines. I'm going to adjust the levels to get rid of any little kind of any artifacts that show up from those blue lines. So now I've got a pretty clean pretty clean piece of art here, except for this. I'm gonna have to. Why isn't it? Clean that up a little bit. See if I can adjust the layers just slightly. All right. So now I have two iterations of this. If I choose to, I can do a color print, or I could print them out as really kind of like an artist edition where you can see the blue lines below it. But mainly this morning I just want to get these scanned so I have them before I ship them out, because once they leave my hands, that's really it. Let's call this. I'll just call it high-res inks. Alright, so that's that. Actually, I'm going to save this as a JPEG also, because I do want to share this on my Patreon page, which is the place to go for all the art that I make is really posted there as high-res images. We'll call this Watchman high-res inks. And this is the original art here. So this was a commission piece, and these are, right now I'm charging $75 for a fully inked, and it's basically, it looks like, you know, it looks like a cover. It's a thick 2-ply Bristol, so it looks and feels just like the sketch card comics that you see, and it is inked by hand, and it has the printed logo. So if you are interested in commissioning one of these, you can head over to my Etsy store. All right, next up is Lobo. So this was a commission. This was another one that I finished over the weekend. Try to get that good view of that. So we're going to scan that in. Takes a minute to scan it. Save that to, I believe I have a Lobo folder. I do. And we'll call this, what did I call the other one? I like to keep the file nomenclature consistent. I just called it scanned art. Alright. Scanned art. Alright, so I'm basically going to do the same treatment. There's the scanned art. I'm going to grab the Lobo logo, if I can find it. I think that's it. Yep. Just saw it. Lobo. There we go. Alright, so... Huh. Must not be the one I used. So weird. There's the logo. There's the pencils. I wonder if it's on my iPad and it hasn't synced up yet. Five and a half miles. Nice. I did. Actually, I couldn't track. I used the Strava app, and I went biking this weekend on the trails here. A place called Santos. There's some pretty technical trails for biking, and I don't know how long I don't know the distance because I didn't bring my phone. I just got a new phone. Just got the iPhone 17, which is ridiculous expensive, and I just didn't want to risk putting it on my bike, so I did not use the old Strava. Alright, so it's not that one. Kind of at a loss as to why. Where is it? It's not it. Cool, yeah. I mean, I should be on there. iCloud. There it is. Alright, there's Sabrina. There's Lobo. Save this as a PSD. Just do that. So if I save it as a PSD, Okay. Let's see if I got it. All right. I am now following you. We can now track how out of shape each of us is. Although, I don't know. I mean, I could be in better shape, I'm sure. I know I could. Alright, yes. So I kind of have to go through, jump through a few hoops to grab this logo, unfortunately. Alright, so now it's a PSD, which means, alright, there's my scan. Let's open the PSD. So there's the screenshot of that. I'm just gonna... No, PSD is a Photoshop file. It's basically a editable file, whereas a PDF is not editable unless you're working in Acrobat. Then some of it is editable. Alright, so there it is. This one I'm going to have to do a little bit of work. Yeah, see the quality? You can tell there's a difference in quality. I don't know, maybe you can tell on your screen, but that's why I'm replacing the scanned logo with the high-res logo. Okay, so that's gotta be there. Then I'm gonna get rid of the logo below it. There we go. Now we've got a nice clean Lobo logo. I like saying that. And now I need to replace this DC, the DC bullet. To do that, I have, where would that be? Alright, I gotta find it. Oops. There we go. Maybe I'll replace it with one. For some reason I had this as issue 300, but I kind of like doing this instead. Issue 1. Doesn't really matter. It's all fake. Get rid of the old below it. Let's fill in this background. Alright, so now we've got a nice clean logo, cover treatment. Save this as, what do I call it here? High-res inks. Alright, just like the other one, I'm going to create 2 iterations. This one is just the straight up scan that includes all of the little blue lines below it, and then I want another version of it that's just really super clean. And to do that, I just reduce the saturation and then the levels. Yeah, I may color these. I'm really tempted to color them and then offer them as art prints. I think that would be pretty cool. Do a little bit of a fix here on his hair. Don't like that. I don't really like that little glow there. Alright, so that one's done. Next up, we have Indiana Jones sketch card commission. Scan this one. Yeah, I don't know much about Lobo, actually. That's a character I just never really got into, or I don't know. I just sort of missed that character, and I don't know a lot about his origins or backstory. Oh, there's a little bit of a shadow on that one. Sure why that happened. Let's try that one again. He kind of reminds me of a combination of the comedian from Watchmen and Beetlejuice. I don't know why. I guess it's the... I don't know. Just kind of a... He's got that Tim Burton kind of vibe. Alright, that one's better. Get the accurate crop here on this. Of course, Indiana Jones is not, Marvel does not have the license, I don't think, right now. Although they could, I guess, since you know, I don't know. Is that a Disney thing now? I forget. Probably is. Seems like everything is Disney. Indiana Jones. I'm gonna call this Stand Art. Let's go in and take a look. that. Grab that logo. Oh, wait, actually, I'll do that in Photoshop. Oh, by the way, here's my, in case you want to see my process, there's my preliminary sketch. There's another little refinement. And there's another refinement there. Had him with dreadlocks at first because I saw a picture of him with that hair, and then I saw he seems to be usually does not have the dreadlocks, so I changed his hair here, and then I changed it again. He kind of looked like an 80s rocker here, so I made his hair a little thinner. So that was the final, that was the pencil art. So anyway, that was that. What are we looking for? Indiana Jones. Here's the same. I used a photo reference for this one. There's my photo reference. There's my sketch. I think that's the final pencils, and then I inked it by hand. Grab that. Alright, well, that was easy enough. Marvel logo. Just grab that one. Shoot. Kind of got ahead of myself a little bit. All right. Now I can get rid of all this. So there's Indy. That one again. Oh, didn't want to do that. Here we go. Save this one. Scan art. Do a JPEG of this as well. I wonder why aren't they doing Indiana Jones comics? Because I think that would be that could potentially be an awesome series. Scanned art, Indiana Jones. I would buy that. All right. What do we have next? Let's see, we did Watchmen. Next up, we have. Where is? Let me see a couple of these. So, next up we've got the Hulk. Are you talking about the 80s Indiana Jones? I remember that run. I think that was a short-lived series. I didn't know they did anything with him after that. I've heard rumors about rebooting Indiana Jones, but I don't know. But then I've also heard Steven Spielberg just flatly say, no, this will never happen. Harrison Ford will always be Indiana Jones, and that's that. But the money, potential easy money for Hollywood is they can't pass that up, even if it's terrible. They think if it's a safe bet, it's a low risk, then they do it, regardless of whether they should do it, if there's any meat on the bones. That's why we have three Tron movies that I don't think anybody likes. I don't know. I mean, the first one was kind of a bomb, and the second one I think bombed. And from what I understand, this new one also tanked. I mean, it's visually really cool. Even the first one was visually astonishing, but I don't think it was really any good. Okay, now we've got Hulk. Yeah. Well, he does, but I thought that Blade Runner 2049, I think it was called, I thought that was amazing film. I thought that was great. And he was just sort of there, I suppose. But I thought it was a really good movie. Scanned art. Okay. There's our scanned art of Hulk. I think I've got Hulk around here somewhere. There he is. We'll just throw down that logo. Yeah. I love that movie. I'm a huge Blade Runner fan, and I did not have any expectations about the sequel. But wow, what a great story! It was just a great story, and they kind of didn't even need Harrison Ford in it. I mean, he felt necessary. Like, okay, yeah, he has to be in this story. He has to be in this movie because of this and this, and it's important. It's not like he was shoehorned into the script, but it was so good that I don't think they necessarily had to write him into it. The only thing I thought was weird, Harrison Ford's literally just wearing a t-shirt and jeans. Almost as if he showed up on set and just said, I'll do this movie, but I'm just going to wear jeans. I'm just going to wear a t-shirt. I'm not wearing any of this science fiction shit. And then they had to agree. Reduce the transparency a little bit so I can see behind the logo, because I'm basically overlapping Hulk. So it requires a little bit of finesse. I thought Ryan Gosling was really good. I wasn't too impressed with him prior to that. He just seemed like one of these actors that he just got roles, you know, and that was that. But I thought he was really good. I think there's a TV series coming out, a Blade Runner series. And I believe it's set even further into the future, which I don't really like. I would much rather see the it's set in Deckard's time, with all the Atari and 80s icon, you know, all that stuff that was in the first Blade Runner, that kind of technology. I think is really cool. Cyberpunk stuff, 80s cyberpunk, I guess you would call it. Alright, there's the Hulk. Now I have to get rid of the logo behind it. See if I can do that without interfering with the line art. I may have to go in and do some surgery on this. Actually, that looks pretty good. Yeah, there really were. It just felt like it was a true science fiction story. And you don't see that a lot anymore in films where it's basically you're getting an action movie that's set in space or it's set in the future or there's some supernatural element or fantasy element, and Blade Runner 2049 was just a straight up hard sci-fi story, and it dealt with all of these scary potential scenarios that could happen that are plausible, and that is the best science fiction when it's dealing with future science, things that could be on the horizon. And yeah, that's why I love that movie, because it did feel like it was like Philip K. Dick would have, I think maybe he would have approved of that film, because it just was a hard sci-fi story. I'm a fan of that. Like, I'm a Star Trek fan because Star Trek is hard science fiction. They're dealing with science, speculative science. That is literally what science fiction means. And that's why I'm a Star Trek fan. I mean, I like Star Wars and the fantasy stuff too, but it's just we don't see enough true science fiction films or TV. Just cleaning up his hair a little bit. It's just a little bit dirty, a little green on the edges. Make it a little tighter. Alright. There's the Hulk. And we'll do another iteration of that one also. Looks like I missed something up here. Yeah, I mean, it was just that whole AI companion concept. That stuff is going to be here before we know it. It kind of already is. I read an article about people having, like, I don't know, like developing relationships with AI chatbots and stuff. Like, they ask him for advice or as a therapist. And I mean, it's here. It's just going to get more convincing, and I think it's going to happen sooner than later. Alright, there's the Hulk. Let's save that as a PSD. Hulk. Oh, what was it called? Scanned art. Save the JPEG. Okay, next is Emma Frost from the X-Men, and I drew the classic costume. Yeah, so that's Emma Frost. I'll get that scanned. So I do have a Whatnot show running tonight. You can find me under my username is Beyond Forward Art, and I'm going to be auctioning some new sketch card commissions, and I also have some other discounted items for sale in my shop. If you're interested in getting a deal on one of these commission pieces, I hope to see you there. It's at 7 p.m., 7 to 8 Eastern Time. And that's Whatnot at Beyond Forward Art. You can also commission original comic art from my Etsy store. You can place an order there. Super easy. I've got several different tiers, several different commission options based on your budget, what's good for you. Try to make the commissioned art accessible and affordable. Let's see, let's save this over to Emma Frost's folder. You can see the links there at the bottom left to my Etsy store. You can click on any of those. I also have an eBay store. I have new items listed daily. Original art from my time at Marvel, Image Comics, Dark Horse, other publishers. And I also sell art prints. And my art prints are unique because they look and feel almost identical to the original comic art page. And they are, you know, of course, a little less than the originals. So that's another option to take a look at. You can find me at Beyond Forward Art at my eBay store. Alright. I am going to wrap up the live stream here in a few moments. Let's take a look. Alright, this is another one where I have to crop the logo a bit. Let's see if I have it. I think I have it over here. Or maybe not. Here it is. No, that's not it. Maybe it is. These are all the different logos I've gathered. The Godzilla one I had to basically recreate. Could not find a scalable vector of that logo. And yeah, the others I just found online. I think what I want to do is, well, I'll just grab this one for now. Just grab the Marvel logo. Diamond Girl? Is that what they call her now? It's supposed to be Emma Frost. And I don't read X-Men. I'm pretty firmly entrenched in the 80s era of X-Men. And I've been reading the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, because there's a gap. There's a period when I was in art college where I didn't read any comics, new comics at the time. And this was in the late 80s, 88 to 90. So there's like a 2-year period where I didn't really, because I didn't have any money, I was broke, I didn't really read a lot of comics. And so it's been kind of cool to visit that that era of books. And I just get I've been just getting the digital editions. Just get rid of that. Alright, I gotta think about, I guess I will just have to rasterize that logo. Make that a hard edge eraser. So I just finished reading the run with the Ravagers and what's the name of that other villain? I forget. Sinestro, I think, or Sinestro. Anyway, it's the like 1990 X-Men. Chris Claremont, Mark Silvestri was doing a lot of the art. Alright, there's the Uncanny X-Men logo. Now I just need to get rid of the logo underneath it. Go back and clean it up a little bit. I usually do, well, I always do my inking. If I'm digitally inking, I do that in Clip Studio, but for little things like this, art corrections and whatnot, I don't have any problem using Photoshop. Alright. I need to get rid of some of this. A few little artifacts here in the scan.